Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Attack on Cowboys, where every detail matters and every move speaks volumes. We've got a very intriguing situation to unpack today, one that may fly under the radar for the casual observer, but for the true Cowboys fans, the ones who follow the subtle signs, the unspoken messages, and the unfiltered content, this one is worth a deep dive. I'm talking about none other than Trevon Diggs and his sudden decision to launch a documentary series on his personal YouTube channel, detailing his ACL recovery journey from 2024. Now, let's be clear right off the bat, this documentary isn't about his current injury rehab, it's about the injury that happened the year prior. But the timing of its release, the tone of the footage, and the personalities involved seem to be more than just coincidental. Is Diggs sending a message to the front office? To the fans? To Jerry Jones himself? Or is this just a marketing play to build his personal brand? We're going to break this all down today, but I want you to watch carefully, think critically, and ask yourself the question, what is Trevon Diggs really trying to say? Now let's set the scene a little bit. As most Cowboys fans know, things are relatively quiet in the Cowboys universe right now. Everyone's eyes are locked on the June 1 SD cuts, and of course, there's plenty of anticipation swirling around the Ramsey watch, that looming move that might cause a ripple effect across the league. We'll get into that in another video later today, so stay tuned for that, but for now, let's talk about this unexpected move from Trevon Diggs. When a player drops a documentary, especially about something as personal and high stakes as injury rehab, it raises eyebrows. It's not common practice. Most NFL athletes don't chronicle every step of their recovery, much less share it in a cinematic format with narration, trainers mic'd up, and cameos from superstar teammates like Micah Parsons. That's exactly what makes this drop from Diggs so fascinating. And let's not forget, he launched this series right when questions were swirling about his commitment, his intensity, and yes, even his future with the franchise. Episode 1 of the documentary felt like a prologue setting the stage, reminding viewers what happened, showing some of the early rehab process, but it was episode 2 that really got people talking. That's the one that features Micah Parsons, and honestly, that's where things get layered. Because if you came in expecting to see Diggs grinding day and night, outworking everyone around him, laser focused and locked in, you might walk away surprised. The spotlight, whether intentionally or not, seemed to fall more on Micah Parsons than on Diggs himself. And in that dynamic, we started to see some very telling things. First, let's talk about Micah Parsons, because that man deserves his flowers. Every time you see this guy, whether it's in team workouts, off-season sessions, or even a teammate's personal documentary, he's giving 110%. No excuses, no shortcuts, no distractions. He's there to work, to push others, and to lead by example. And that's exactly what he did in this episode. You can see it in his intensity, in his interactions with the trainer, and even in how he lifts the mood and the work ethic of the entire session. The trainer, who, by the way, is Trevon Diggs' personal trainer, not Micah, starts responding to Micah with more energy. At one point, he literally says, "I'm doing this one for you, 11. You my dog." That's the kind of influence Micah has. He steps into a room and instantly raises the standard. He's not even the focus of the video, yet he steals the spotlight with his sheer determination. That kind of impact can't be faked. It can't be edited in. That's real leadership. And it's why Micah Parsons is one of the most respected players in the Cowboys locker room right now. But on the flip side, you have Trevon Diggs. And again, I want to be very clear, I'm not here to bash Diggs. This isn't about piling on. This is about looking at the footage he put out and asking, what are we supposed to take from this? Because if this documentary is supposed to counter the narrative that Diggs wasn't serious about his rehab, I'm not sure it hits the mark. There are extended moments where he's sitting down, chatting, laughing, not engaged in the workouts while everyone else is grinding. There's a scene that really stood out to me. Everyone else in the frame is lifting, moving, working, and Diggs is off to the side, not even looking like he's part of the session. That's the kind of visual that sticks with you. That's the kind of image that critics latch onto and say, "See? That's what we were talking about." And let's talk about body language and dialogue. If you really listen closely, and if you're someone who pays attention to energy, tone, and presence, you'll notice something. Diggs seems like a guy who needs others to pull effort out of him. He doesn't bring the fire himself. He responds to energy around him. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Every athlete is wired differently, but it does raise questions when the perception is already out there that you weren't taking rehab seriously. When you drop a documentary to answer that criticism, the expectation is that you'll silence the doubters. Instead, this feels more like it added fuel to the fire. Now maybe it's just the editing. Maybe a lot of the most intense, focused moments were cut from the final version. Maybe they only wanted to show certain snippets for dramatic effect. That's totally possible. But here's the thing: perception is reality in the NFL. And this documentary didn't do Trevon any favors in that department. It played into the criticisms. It reinforced the doubts. And that's why this whole situation feels so strange. Because if this was meant to be a response to Jerry Jones, to the front office, to the media, to the fans, then it might have backfired. Let's zoom out for a second and think about what this could mean long term. We all know Diggs is talented. No one's questioning his skill level. But the NFL is a business. And when questions about work ethic start to bubble up, especially after a major injury, teams start to reassess value. Contracts get scrutinized. Trade rumors gain traction. And honestly, watching this documentary, I wouldn't be surprised if there are conversations behind the scenes about Diggs' future in Dallas. This could very well be his last year wearing the star. And if the front office was already on the fence, this documentary might not have helped his case. The irony in all of this is that the most compelling part of the documentary, the thing that actually inspired people, was Micah Parsons. Not Diggs. Micah comes off as the guy who's locked in, who's serious, who's focused on greatness. He shows up, not to take over the spotlight, but because he wants to push others to be better. That's leadership. That's what championship teams are built on. And that's why Cowboys fans should be excited about what Micah brings to this franchise. But it also creates a contrast that's hard to ignore. When you put Diggs and Micah side by side, the difference in energy, effort, and intensity is stark. And again, this was Diggs' video. His platform. His narrative. So you have to ask, what was the real goal here? Was it to show how hard he worked? Because if so, the footage didn't support that. Was it to open a new revenue stream? Maybe. Launching a YouTube channel is a smart move in today's media landscape. Athletes are taking control of their content, building their brands, creating personal platforms. That's all part of the game now. But if you're going to do that, you have to be intentional with your message. You can't drop a video that's meant to silence critics and then give them more ammo. That's not how you control the narrative. And maybe that's the lesson here. Maybe Diggs wanted to show the world the real him, but forgot how the world interprets things. In the NFL, perception is everything. If your video shows you chilling while everyone else is grinding, people won't ask about the context. They'll just say, "See? Same old story." And that's why editing matters. That's why messaging matters. That's why you need people around you who can guide you on how to present your story the right way. Because right now, this feels like a missed opportunity. Now, before we close this out, let's not forget something very important. Trevon Diggs is still recovering from another injury. This documentary is about the first one, not the current rehab. And from what we've seen so far, his current approach looks more serious, more locked in, more intentional. The clips that have surfaced from his recent workouts show a different level of focus. Maybe he learned from the last time. Maybe he realized that he needed to dial in more. And if that's the case, then good on him. Growth is part of the process. But that also raises the question, why release this older footage now? Why bring it back up when it might hurt more than it helps? That's where the speculation comes in. Some think it's a shot at Jerry. Some think it's a subtle response to criticism. Others think it's just Diggs trying to stay relevant during the off-season. But whatever the reason, the result is the same. That's got people talking. And in today's NFL, that's not always a good thing. So here's my final thought. Diggs, if you're watching this, keep working. Keep grinding. Let your current rehab speak louder than any old footage. If you want to prove the critics wrong, do it on the field. Do it with your play. Do it with your intensity. The Cowboys need you at your best. But more importantly, they need you to want to be your best. So to all the Cowboys fans out there, let me know what you think. Was this documentary a misstep? Was it Diggs trying to control the narrative but ending up strengthening the criticism instead? Or was it just a harmless YouTube drop that we're all overanalyzing? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, support your players, support your team, and keep your eyes open. Because in Cowboys Nation, nothing is ever as simple as it seems. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and stay locked in because we've got more updates, rumors, and analysis coming your way. This is Attack on Cowboys, where we break it all down, keep it real, and ride for the star. How about them Cowboys?